From the shores of the North Saskatchewan River right here in scenic Prince Albert, this is Down to the River radio show. And on the line with me today is the woman, myth, and or legend herself, fiddling master Natalie MacMaster. How are you doing?
I'm just great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would imagine, you're probably in a good place because, of course, your first record in 8 years is about to drop. I suppose the operative question, and I would imagine there's a pretty obvious answer to this, but just to start off with the easy ones first. I mean, how come it took 8 years for you to release this tour de force record?
Well, a couple of things to comment on there. The record, having not recorded my own solo project in 8 years, I did do 2 recordings with my husband in that time. So,
Right.
and there's been a lot of births. We've
Yes.
had, we have lots of children and stuff. So, it's been a very busy time, and we've done a lot of touring. So it doesn't really feel like it's been 8 years, because I'm still playing and touring and recording and stuff, and life's busy with home life. So
Yeah.
when people say that, I'm like, really? Well, yeah, I guess if you do the math, it is. It's just I guess in a different different version of me to do what I've done the past 8 years. Traveling with the kids and with my husband.
Yeah.
But certainly, like, my own personal musical journey is very, very much sparked and peaking in a sense. I just find myself just really still, like, genuinely loving it and craving it, which I didn't do so much in my 20s. I kind of was overplayed, I suppose, doing 250 shows a year. I was
Yeah.
really just like, the last thing you want to do is pick up the fiddle and, when you have time off. And now I find myself really excited about shows and touring. And because for me at home, like, as any mother will know, especially if you're home with your kids all the time, you really crave those moments where you get to do what you're good at, or just get away from the house, or,
Yeah.
put your mind in another space for a while. Like, those are all really healthy things to do. So
Sure.
I joke now. I say being on stage is like a day at the spa for me.
Well, now I did read, though, sometimes your kids accompany you. So, I mean, when you come to the EA Rawlinson next Friday, is that going to be the case?
Yes, Mary Frances, my 13-year-old daughter, is for the first time going to be my accompanist in the show. Yeah, I'm kind of freaked out myself. And as well, I did the record, you talk about it so sweetly. When I decided to do this, it wasn't meant to be something that would move the earth,
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be an innovative, earth-shattering project. It was actually meant to be super simple and stripped down to just fiddle and guitar, which I've never done before. It's always been piano accompaniment. I've done 11 recordings. It's all piano.
Yeah.
So this is my first one, just guitar. And it was a simple moment I had with this guitarist who is just knock your socks off. He's just really a musical genius. And playing with him, he's from the UK.
Yeah.
And playing with him 5 years ago when Danelle and I were preparing for another recording, when I was just sitting down, just the two of us playing, it just had such an impact on me, and I was musically brought to new places.
Yeah, this is Tim Eady you're talking about?
Yeah, Tim Eady. And I said to him that day, 5 years ago, we have got to do a record together, just the two of us.
Yeah.
So that's the core of this. It's fiddle, guitar, and then I did put some bass on afterwards.
Yeah.
And Tim also plays accordion. So, me, Tim, and bass, and yeah. So it's not earth shattering, but the cute thing is my mom said to me, and she's pretty particular. She's not one of these mothers where everything her daughter does is wonderful. She's like fussy, like, oh, you should do more of this, or that's great, keep doing that, or whatever. She called the other day and she was in tears and she said, Natalie, I think this is your best record yet.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was exciting for me.
Yeah, well, and of course the record's called Sketches. I think I may or may not have mentioned that off the top. But I mean,
I'm sorry. I actually got off your question. You're asking about the show. Mary Frances is playing. I meant to just say Tim is playing on the show as well.
Oh, wow.
This
Great.
run of dates I'm doing. So Tim is coming over from Scotland,
Nice.
and he's going to do these dates with me. So there'll be a lot of stuff from the record.
Yeah.
And then I have my percussionist as well doing a bit of accompaniment.
Amazing.
So yeah, it'll be fun to tour with Mary Frances. It'll be just her as far as all my kids go. I'm just taking her and to have her, treat it like more of one of the adult crew instead of the little ones.
I bet she must be pretty excited to, get out on the road with Mom, hey?
She's excited for many reasons, she's looking forward to shopping.
Of course.
I said, if we have any free time, Mary Frances, we can hit them all. We don't have to ask anybody.
Yeah.
We don't have to make sure the baby's sleeping or whatever. You just go.
Yeah.
She's looking forward to that. She loves swimming, so she's looking forward to the pools every day in the hotel. And musically speaking, I think she's a little nervous. She's been practicing, and I think she's awesome. I wouldn't have taken her if she wasn't, but it's great. It's really great to hear her really open up.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about your own mother and her approach to your musical upbringing. Have you kind of, continued along that same path? Because, you and I were from Generation X, and our parents, of course, are, I would imagine your mom's from that baby boomer generation where, baby boomers are sort of straight shooters. They'll just sort of tell it like it is. But I find sometimes with our generation, we're almost like a response to that. And we kind of tend to, hang back a little bit. How's your own approach when it comes to your kids' musical education, Natalie?
Well, that's a good question. I hear what you're saying. I've never thought about that. I've never really analyzed kind of my category. I think I'm a variety of a number of versions. I think with children, as parents will know, every child is so unique and they all have their different personality quirks. So with some kids, for example, Mary Frances, she does not want to hear anything sugar-coated. She just thinks, oh, you're just saying that because you're my mom and you love anything I do. And so with her, I don't tell her how good I think she is. I purposely don't. I underplay it because she just has that personality. She just thinks that you're kidding, or of course you're going to think that. So I always, in my mind, she'll be playing things, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I even wrote on one of my voice memos, "This girl is incredible," because I was recording something and I had to put a title on it.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know I did that. She doesn't know I think like that. Whereas a couple of my other kids, I have to really over exaggerate, that was a great job, and really encourage, because that's what they need.
Yeah.
They want to hear that. They need to hear that. So it all depends on the personality type and the circumstance.
Sure.
As far as the music goes, you mentioned musically, I just want to have them, as Danelle says, just keep them in the game, and as they get older, their own personal tastes and musicality will take over or not, and we'll just roll with that then. Yeah. But right now we're still in the you better finish up your eat all your vegetables stage. You better practice your fiddle. You better, because it's good for them. It's music. It's good for them. And as they age, they can choose. How they manifest that.
Yeah, well, and I did hear that you're raising them in an environment where you're at least giving them exposure to, a little bit of fiddle music every day. Of course, I guess the operative question too would be, like, a lot of kids, especially when they're in that 10 through 14, age bracket, they start to discover pop music and things like that. Do you try to just allow them to make their own decisions in terms of the music that they, choose to consume?
Well, certainly what I've noticed in life is it's a wonderful answer to say, yes, of course we do. That sounds great. But the truth of it is, we actually do. The only thing I like, the pop music is going 24/7. I have determined that we listen to fiddle music in the mornings as we're getting breakfast and stuff like that. I find it's really lifey, but you can have it on in the background and it doesn't disturb a conversation.
Yeah.
But it's still there. That's kind of how I grew up. So they know that. They don't even think of anything else in the morning. I just have fiddle tunes on when they come downstairs to have breakfast and get ready for school and all that. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. So other than that little moment of the day, they can listen to whatever they want.
That's great. Well, and I thought I heard too that you're sort of a a fan of Ed Sheeran. So
Like they listened, Mary Frances was on a big Ed Sheeran kick there for
yeah,
a couple of months. That's all I heard. So I actually get to become fans of people because my kids are listening to them. So I rediscover or hear, for the first time, sometimes a lot of a certain artist.
yeah.
So he was one of them. Ella Fitzgerald is another one.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I've ever heard her music, or if I did hear it, I didn't recognize it as her, but my daughters are really into her, so I've been getting really into her.
Yeah. Well, now the other thing that I was curious about is, I would imagine your kids too, like they've sort of been able to hobnob and mingle with, some of your, more well-known friends in the industry. I mean, how do you keep them grounded and rooted and, maybe more of the, quote unquote normal life, or is that even possible when you're, the son or daughter of Natalie MacMaster?
Well, the funny thing is they're oblivious to, I shouldn't say oblivious. I think they appreciate and recognize the musicality of the degree of musicianship amongst people around them and the incredible opportunity they have to hear it. And I was even driving today thinking to myself, boy, they were listening to actually fiddle tune, believe it or not. And I was thinking to myself, I could teach them how to play like that or this or whatever if they wanted to. And I was thinking to myself, they so don't realize that, they have access to that. And not just for me on the fiddle, but my husband, like they could, if they really wanted to delve in, they could just have the whole wealth right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wake up in the morning, Dad, give me a fiddle lesson. Dad, show me what you're doing there, Dad. But they don't think like that, which is good, actually. They don't look at you the way a fan would look at you. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a respect there with regard, maybe respect's the wrong word, but I do think there's an awareness for all of them that Mommy and Daddy are really good fiddlers, and Elmer on guitar, he's like, oh, he's one of the best. And they do have a sense of our band, and they know that they're really good at what they do. I think they feel that. They thank them every night when we're on tour as a family. After the show, they all go to each of the different musicians and say, thank you for accompanying me,
That's awesome. That's great. I noticed now, the big quote, of course, from the press release that I received this morning was, I have something to say through my fiddle. So, and that's in regards to the new record too, of course. And, one thing that I noticed about this one is there's a definite overall feel of joy. There's a contentment. There's a peace. There's a bit of spring in your step. Not to say that there wasn't, in your previous solo record either, but I mean, there's a lot of really positive energy and emotion in this record. I mean, I would imagine now that's kind of where your headspace was as you were working through many of the tracks. I think it's really evident actually in the track Patricia Kelso's.
Wow, that is so nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess so. I mean, maybe they're unconscious choices of material, or yeah, I suppose. I mean, as far as life goes, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful, like beyond the moon, to have my husband and my kids and live on a farm and be able to play music, especially when I look at, again, that whole phase we've gone through for the last 14 years of pregnancies and children, and to be able to come out the other side and still love playing and love each other so much and love that we're where we're at. I get, those are things not to be taken for granted, for sure.
Now, is this kind of what you intended to communicate through your instrument in this record?
No, I was just looking for good music. Looking for good music.
Well, I was going to say, I would imagine with an instrumental record, things are a little bit more up to the listener to interpret, what kind of some of your thoughts and emotions and feelings as you went through each individual song or song set, so to speak.
Oh, for sure. That's right. We're not dictating anything by telling a story with words or telling a song. You know, they are melodies. So yeah, you take what you want
Yeah.
from it. And it was interesting. Tim Eady, who's played all kinds of music with all kinds of people for many years, said to me, "Oh, Natalie, every time I hear that Professor Blackie, it makes me cry." And I was like, and he was serious, like his eyes were welling up. And so I don't hear that in that tune. So he hears something sorrowful in it, or something different. To me, it doesn't cause that. So yeah, everybody is going to receive something different. Hopefully, they receive something. That's all I care about.
For sure. Well, now you did mention Tim Eady off the top too. I mean, you know, in terms of your own work with him now, I mean, when it comes to arranging the songs and putting the music together for sketches, I mean, are you guys communicating across the pond, or are you in the same room together when you're working through things?
Great question. I actually worked on this for 6 months just myself, putting together, collecting the tunes, trying to figure out, you know, what works best, and a bit of arrangement. I mean, I didn't dictate too much on the arrangement side because I knew I'd be very inspired by Tim when he got here. And then 2 days before we went in the studio, Tim came over and we saturated those 2 days with every kind of a version and like trial and error, just trying different parts, trying different things, and him learning some of the tunes, him hearing most of them for the first time.
Yeah.
So that just shows his musical sense and his talent. And I knew I had great confidence in his ability to interpret immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't disagree. I mean, you know, you guys put together something truly remarkable and inspiring. You know, that's my honest opinion anyway.
Well, that's really great. That's so nice to talk to you because it's brand new and I've only done, I think you're the second or third interview I've done. So
wow.
Pretty fresh. It's still pretty fresh.
Yeah. Well, now, you know, getting back to, you know, the up and coming tour, although I think you've done a few dates already in Halifax, but I mean, I imagine now, like, you know, this is, you know, you're kicking off and you're getting in cycle for sketches when you you know, when you come out to the EA Rawlinson Center for the Arts here in Prince Albert next Friday, October 18th. So, I mean, I guess, you know, how do you prepare for tours given the fact that this isn't necessarily your first rodeo? And you know, the other thing I was going to ask you is, you know, what's the set list going to look like? Because these are, I mean, are a little bit more intimate and acoustic, you know, sort of small, keep it simple, meat and potatoes kind of shows, right?
That's so true. And every tour is different, requires, you know, different, might be different players, a different theme, celebrating something new coming out like the CD, or it could be a family show, or they're always so different. So this one in particular, I'll definitely be taking new tunes from the record, and yes, trying to learn myself even how to deliver them. You know, It's one thing to have them on a recording, but it's another thing to play in front of people and then to deliver it and have it translate.
Sure. Well, and now, you know, you're coming out and you're doing quite a number of dates on the prairies. I mean, you're not just in Saskatchewan, you're hitting, you know, some areas in Alberta as well. You know, one thing I've found, you know, having lived in a wide variety of areas in this great country of ours, I mean, a lot of the times when you go from one region to the next, it feels almost like you're going into a different country. I mean, having played in Saskatchewan before in the past, I mean, is there any overall vibe that you pick up, or any, you know, thing of note, you know, over the years that you've you know, come to formulate an opinion on?
The first vibe I get is this sense of real, like, I feel like a Canadian. I feel like the community of Canada is small. I feel like it's connected right from coast to coast. I feel like we're united by fiddles. There's like a fiddle community, all fiddle communities of various dialects all across the country.
For sure.
I feel like the incredible tapestry. You know, you talk about the just the different nationalities in Canada. It's the same for the fiddle.
Yeah.
And they all work together, and it's awesome. I love our country.
Yeah.
That's what I get a sense of when I especially heading out west.
Yeah.
It's just really great.
Well, listen, Natalie, I really appreciate you, coming down to the river with me today just to chat about your new record Sketches, and of course your up and coming gig at the E.A. Rawlinson Center for the Arts in Prince Albert, October 18th. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to getting out and seeing the show, Natalie. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We'll whip a good one up for you.
Right on. Okay, well, you have a good day.
Nice to talk to you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.